Yeah, so let's get back to our correspondent Emmanuel Iri on this one. Emmanuel, look, some security concerns there. What is going on? Is the governor aware? What are security agencies doing now?
A hectic day, just like it is when you have elections in the States. Today is no different. We've had reports from different parts of the states. Maybe the one trending now is the story from Okrika, where some party agents and some voters had complained about the lack of voting materials. And when we did a little bit of more investigation, we learned that there were unconfirmed reports that alleged soldiers or people dressed in military uniforms had taken away materials before, in the very early hours of this morning. And we tried to get across to the authorities. Eventually, I was able to get the Assistant Director of Public Affairs of the 96th Division Nigerian Army, who wondered where that story is coming from. In his words, he said, the reports, and I want to quote him now, the report we got from Okrika as we speak is that voters are complaining that there are no materials for them and voting has not started as at this time, and that was, as at the time he was speaking to me, that was noon. And he continued by saying, how can alleged soldiers take away materials that are not there in the first place? That we should check our facts. So you have the back and forth on the matter right now. We've had some reports also from LMA where some persons alleged intimidation by suspected security agencies. Same story of moving materials away. And I think as the day unfolds, especially as we begin to get to the end of the day, we may begin to put our fingers on what really has happened, what is happening, and what the authorities would like to say in their final reports. And that's where we are at this time.
Just getting that howl back, so that should be sorted. But I'm not sure. I lost all at the initial stage, but you know the concerns raised there. But Emmanuel, about the event or the development in Andoni, is there any update? Is the INEC rec or is INEC going to speak up? Have they spoken up? Any information on that at the moment? All right, I understand that we lost Emmanuel Iri there, but hopefully to get some more information on that one. So that's a situation that we think should they really need to look into. But let me get to Mr. Benson Olugbo on this one in Abuja. Yes, some teething challenges. I don't even know to call them teething anymore because if they fester, people will become a lot more agitated. But if all of this scenario notwithstanding, if INEC got, because the Senate approved 189 billion for INEC to conduct these elections, you think we should be having this kind of challenges?
Well, if I heard you correctly, INEC's problem are both internal and external. Internal in the sense that they had promised us before last week that everything was fine, they were ready for the election, and it was when it was postponed that we really realized that they had a lot of challenges. But the problem is also external in the sense that we believe there's a sabotage in terms of trying to cripple INEC. Because if there's no sabotage, why would more than 5,000 card readers be burnt in Anambra State? And I guess that is one of the challenges they're having now, because what happened is part of the backups that were supposed to be in different parts of the country had to be retrieved and reprogrammed for the election in Anambra State. Another thing also is that because we did a security threat assessment, and one of the key things we found out is that logistics will be a big problem during this election. And some of those logistics are not directly the problem of INEC. It's what we could call third-party logistic issues. For instance, we've had some instances where members of the National Union of Road Transport Workers have refused to move some of the materials because they were not paid or the allowances were not paid. And for average Nigeria, it's INEC's problem. But if you look deeper, you realize that INEC must have contracted these people. There must be an MOU, an agreement. But at a dying minute, people are trying to frustrate what the plans that were made. And also in terms of security, you realize that in some parts of the country, the security threat assessment we did have showed that election is going to be difficult in some countries. And for instance, in some parts of the country, for instance, Rivers State, we clearly mentioned that because of the activities of political thugs and the high level of substance abuse in Nigeria, we kind of realized that in some parts of the country, there'll be problems. Another thing I also need to point out is that between the time the election was postponed and rescheduled last week till now, there has been a spike in violence across the country. And what our worry initially is that it was going to cause vote apathy. But interestingly, we are seeing numbers in some places, and I think that is something to be grateful, that despite the spike in violence in different parts of the country, people are still able to come out and vote. But one thing, looking at the pictures you are showing, I guess one problem we have to confront is the issue of VIP crowd control. It's a big problem for our democracy. It's a big problem for security, because I was looking at the pictures you were showing, and I asked myself, all these people that were following the VIPs, are they actually accredited to vote? And I also saw in one of the pictures that somebody was carrying a gun in a polling booth. And it was very clear, made very clear that no security agent should carry gun in a polling booth. And interestingly, the Nigerian police force said that no security agent should follow VIPs. But unfortunately, the pictures are telling us otherwise, which means it is important to once again remind our politicians that there are rules of engagement, there are rules of playing this politics. There are things you do, and then the logistic that has already been planned to an extent start having a problem, and that is what we are beginning to see now. Right. Then for those places where there are no materials, INEC has a question to answer. Because they had promised us that the elections is going to go on and that they had made every effort possible. But like I said, they can also explain that some of the logistic issues that they are facing now may be due to one issue or the other that is not directly under their control. But I'm happy you have said that the Director of Voter and Mobilization is coming to make some explanations. But the reality now is that moving forward, INEC really needs to start early in terms of preparation. And when things are not working, they should also be forthright to Nigerians and say, things are not the way they ought to be, we need more time, or we need to do some adjustments. Because obviously, some of the numbers we are seeing in some places and the materials that are missing, materials are not available, the card readers are not working. In some of the discussions we had, we actually had some core members forgot the PIN code to the card reader. And as at the time I received that report, they were unable to start the process because the code to the card reader was nowhere to be found. It's interesting, but I must commend Nigerians so far But if some people are not able to start the voting process at this time, it's worrisome. Although I have seen in your byline that INEC has agreed to extend the time beyond the voting time for those who did not start by 8 o'clock. But the question is for places where materials are still missing, the card wizards are not working, people cannot find their names. What can they do at this point in time?
All right, yes, indeed, we'll come back to this, but I think that figure eventually came down to 234.5 billion. So after INEC, I beg your pardon, Senate merged those figures concerning the budget of INEC. We'll go to break and come back and take more response on what's going on in the field today, Election Day.